Cool, let's get into it. Welcome back to the Shop Stool Podcast, everyone. We have an international guest today, which is really exciting. All the way from Texas, I believe, if Instagram has told me correctly. It is Mr. Phil Morley, who myself and Bryan are very, very excited to have a chat to and discuss woodworking with. So, Phil, thanks very much for coming on the show. How are you today?
I'm great, and thanks for having me on. Been following this podcast for a while, so yeah, it should be fun.
Yeah, we're very excited.
Joey obviously sends his apologies. He's in the midst of a horrific kitchen install, which involves about 300 cabinets. So yeah.
Oh my goodness, I understand. Yeah.
Thanks for mentioning that, Bryan. Yeah, we just got a message. We sent Joey a message today to say, if it's possible, could you come along? And we just got a message back saying, no chance, I'm chasing 5 mil. That was the message, and who knows what's happened.
Good luck with the 5 mil, Joey, whatever that means. So, how's life in Texas? It's been a pretty tricky summer there, huh?
Yeah, it's pretty brutal right now. I think it's the hottest summer on record, but it's also, I guess, consecutive days over 100 degrees. So it's pretty much been 102, 104 for I don't know how long. And my shop, this will be the second summer, but my shop doesn't have AC right now. So my actual shop is 102, which is just miserable. But, it's going to come to an end in like 3 weeks. We head out. So, yeah.
That's right. It's coming to an end because you're leaving Texas for a bit, right?
Yes, yeah. Leaving Texas
tell us about that.
So leaving for about 5 to 6 months. A part of it is we would like to move out of Texas. And so we're kind of doing a little bit of, searching areas and checking out different places. But we'll be in Vermont for 2 months. And whilst I'm there, I'm hopefully going to be going and checking out some friends and kind of working in their shop for a little bit. And I'll fly out and teach almost like every month. So I have to still do that. But no commissions. I've stopped all the commissions for now. And then we head up to Maine for, I think, 3 months. And I'll be teaching for 6 weeks in a 9-month intensive program at CFC, so Center for Furniture Craftsmanship in Maine. So I'll be co-teaching with Tim Rousseau, which I cannot wait to do that. I'm extremely nervous about it, but also very excited about it. So yeah, and then we'll see. We might buy something whilst we're up there. We'll kind of see how it goes. We're taking it slow, but making moves.
Big move. So you said you're flying, so you're still going to be teaching in Texas?
Well, so we're driving up. And then I will fly out once a month to teach. And so I'll, back to Texas, Oregon, Florida, and Indiana, I think.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. And so I'll fly out. So I'm packing up anything I need right now as far as jigs or templates, and I'm kind of shipping them out ahead of time. And then just, my usual bag of hand tools and stuff. I don't take much anymore when I teach.
Very exciting. It must be strange to put a pause on commissions for such a long period.
Yeah, it is, but also really nice to take a break from it, and terrifying because I've literally come to the end of a 2-year backlog, and intentionally been not taking on commissions. I did just take on these 2. I'm doing 2 desks right now. That was like a last minute thing. I was like, I really want to do this. But it is, but it's the only way I see it happening if we do want to move. And it's still kind of up in the air. The thing that's grounded me in Texas right now is I'm a part owner of the Austin School of Furniture. And so that makes things a little more complicated. I know my partner, Austin, is not real happy about if it ends up being a reality if we move. but there's many reasons why we kind of want to get out. And so, I just don't see me being able to do that and have commissions. I'm going to have to stop, get reset up, and then start again. So I've got some more work on the books, but those are patrons that are just kind of chill. And they're like, when you get set up, that's fine. But I'm leaning on teaching more than I've ever done. So yeah, it's a mixed bag of feelings. I'm like, oh God, I hope I don't screw myself here, but I don't think so. It'll work out.
Is the teaching something that you fell into by chance, or is that something you always envisioned doing?
I think just as a crafts person, I think we kind of most of us are teachers. I don't know what it is about this craft. Like, we can't help ourselves but like to share information. And that's what I love about it, right? It's very open. I know I have other friends that are in different crafts, and they're not very open about their crafts. It's like secrets. But the teaching came about from working. So I did a 7-year apprenticeship with my mentor, Michael Kolker. And he taught at the community college one night a week. And so I would just go, he was like, well, I don't know what to do with you. I have to leave early and go teach. So he's like, just come along with me. And I really enjoyed it. I was helping him out, and then they said, hey, do you want to teach? And so I kind of fell into it that way. But I think from early on, I always wanted to be a part of what I do, just because I'm so thankful for those who have taught me. Mm-hmm. I've been very fortunate that I had a lot of good mentors.
And just getting into that backstory of it, so that was in the UK. You did that internship. You're originally from England, right?
No. So yes, I'm from England. That's why I got into the trades. So I went to. I can kind of go back to where it all started. So yes, it was in the UK. I'm dyslexic, and along with that, back when I was young, I had an attitude. So a troubled teenager, and got in enough trouble that it was serious. That it really forced me to end up going to a trade school. And I mean, how fortunate am I that I had a trade school? That's the thing that was amazing. So we had a City and Guilds program, and I ended up going to that.
Sorry to interrupt. Where in the UK was it?
London.
London, okay.
Yeah, from London. And I went at the age of 15. And so in the UK, at the age of 15, you start making decisions to go to sixth form college, which then ends up taking you on more of an academic path to university, so to go to uni. I was not going to uni. There was no chance of that. Just heavily dyslexic, couldn't read, spell, or anything like that. But I was always doing something with my hands. And so at 15, one day a week, or a couple of days a week, I would try out different trades. And I loved the woodworking, so I was a joiner. I guess you'd call it a bench joiner. So more architectural type millwork, doors, sash windows, like stuff like that. And then on site, kind of like a fine carpenter type thing. And so at the age of 16, decided this is what I need to do, because I got in some trouble, and I was like, okay, I need to focus and do this. So it was basically juvenile prison, all that. And I was like, yep, I'll stick with the trade.
That's a good option.
Tough choice.
And so I did. Yeah, I was like, no problem. And so I did that for 3 years. And then from that, you do like a kind of a journeymanship, got hired by a company, did that for a year or so. But kind of knew at that time I really wanted to get more into furniture, because it was not furniture. It was really more, it was a lot of, the first year it was nothing but hand tools. And so like a lot of it, I can relate to what I do now. So it gave me a good foundation of woodworking and technology and all that kind of stuff. But it was more carpentry type work, and it was really tough work. It was a lot of travel, a lot of in the elements. It was nice, high-end work I could be proud of, but I very quickly realized I wanted to get finer and finer with the craft. But it wasn't until I came to America that I got introduced to like what I would call studio furniture making, and that was, this is a long story. I don't know how, but I basically came over when I was 18 to continue to stay out of trouble for the summer, and it was called a Camp America. And basically, you sign up to a camp and you teach some stuff, and then you get to travel afterwards. And so I was hired to teach woodshop, and it was a camp and basketball. It was a camp for inner city kids from Boston. Wonderful kids, but incredibly tough and from really just horrible backgrounds. So really, really tough kids. But once you kind of broke through that thick skin, they were kids. 14-year-olds, but acted like they're 30-year-olds. But I met my wife, so that's where that's going. So I met my wife there. She was a camp counselor, and I followed her back to. She's from Texas, but she went to school in Rhode Island, and so I followed her back to Rhode Island, where she went to university, to college, and basically in Providence, Rhode Island, there's Risley, Rhode Island School of Design. And that's where I got introduced to studio furniture making. I can't remember how I found out about that school, because again, at that time I didn't know what it looked like to be a furniture maker. It just wasn't really on my radar. I always like fine woodwork and all those magazines. I would eat that stuff up, so I was aware of what it looked like as far as that goes. But as a business itself, so I kind of hung out at Risley. And then they put me in contact with alumni. And so then I would work with different craftspeople that graduated. And that was my first, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to build one-of-a-kind pieces, slow work, just a few pieces a year, and at a high level. And that's kind of what I worked towards. But the apprenticeship I mentioned was in America, and it was in Texas. So Michael Colker, Colca.
Oh,
is
yeah.
an incredible furniture maker. Yeah, arts and crafts. He's not out there. He doesn't have any social, which I don't blame him at all. But incredible craftsman. And so I did 7 years with him, and before that I did 4 years with more of a design group in Florida. But yeah.
So 10 years before you had your own workshop doing your own commissions?
Yeah, at least. Yeah. And then, it was with Michael. I mean, he wasn't ready for me to leave, but it was kind of just weird timing that it makes no sense looking back at it. Things were slowing down for him, and I had just got told I had an illness that wasn't good. And it made me start my own business. It made no sense. I ended up not having, it was cancer. They kept saying I had cancer. I ended up not having cancer, but it made me start my own business. I just came home and just asked my wife, and we had probably 2 kids then. I don't remember. I think it was probably 2. And she was like, yeah, let's do it. And so she was very supportive of it. My wife kind of runs the business side. She hates it, but she does run the business side. And she homeschools our 4 kids now. And so, yeah, that's
you are literally, you're the Texan version of Joey. Am I right, Robin?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Joey had a cancer diagnosis, which I think led him to start his own business, get out of building and get into furniture making. His wife homeschools their kids.
She does the taxes as well. She takes care of
many.
We're
both.
So many weird parallels.
We're both bold.
Oh, Joey's still got a wee bit.
Yeah.
Joey's got more than the pair of us anyway. But
that's awesome.
That's a fascinating story, and it's been going well ever since. So you've been running your own studio for how many years now?
I keep saying 5 years, but it's longer than that now. 14, 15 years or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's. I mean, you know how it is. It's absolutely it makes no sense. It's like,
none
it makes no sense. But I forget who it said it. I don't know if it was Tim Coleman or something, but it's like it's a hard way to make a living, but a good way to live.
Yep.
And that's what was important to me. And a part of the, I think with the whole like, hey, you may not have long left, was more like, I'm going to do what I want to do. And Michael was amazing. Like, I worked with, absolutely amazing person. And I credit him for where I am today 100%, because he just really took me under his wing. And I think when I first interviewed with him, he did not want anyone. He just got out of an apprenticeship, and taking someone on is a lot of freaking work and a lot of stress. Definitely with a one-man shop where you're just building one-of-a-kind pieces. You don't have any product. And then he took me on and said, I'll give you 2 years. And then I did 7. And he wanted me to continue with him. But he understood, too, that, I wanted to do my own thing and, be around my family more. So that was a big part of it. Was I don't want my family my kids to necessarily go into the craft. If they do, great. But being around it and seeing what it takes and stuff, I think that they pick up more than probably they realize. So, but yeah, it's been good. A lot of luck, I think.
I was going to ask about that. You talk about luck, that transition from moving into your own business. Did you have quite a big network built up for that, or did you hit bottom and have to work back up again?
So, no, I always knew I wanted my own business. And so, and I always knew what kind of work I wanted to do. So from the get-go, when I started working for Michael, I was very much aware that I need to have very low overhead so that I can be, I can take the work that I want to do and not have to just take work because I have to pay my bills and then get stuck in doing that. I never want to do cabinets or anything like that. Not any shade on that. That's just not, I would suck at it. That's not what I wanted to do. And so I stayed very selective. And the way I did that was from the get-go, I think actually it was like Obama gave a home credit loan for first home buyers. And it was like 10 grand. I was like, shit. So that's what I built my shop with. So I poured the slab. I did everything. I built my shop next to my house. It took me years just saving and building. And so I knew that I was going to step off by myself. And then
You were building this while you were doing the apprenticeship?
Yeah. Well, hey, I was living the American dream. I had 3 jobs. It was not, and no wonder I was fucking sick. So I was teaching, and then I did 2 nights a week. I taught from 5 to 10, and I would get home around midnight. Then I was doing 20 hours a week as a lab tech. So basically, the woodshop labs.
Yeah.
They call it lab tech. But I was just taking care of machines and fixing things and doing all that kind of stuff. That gave me insurance back then too, which was kind of amazing. In America, that's something, it's hard to get. And then working for Michael. And it was one of those transitions. This was like towards maybe 2 or 3 years towards the end. I started working more part-time with Michael. And it just kind of transitioned that way. It just worked out. And he kind of was like, jump on it. You get insurance. I can't give you insurance. I can't do any of that. So he's like, just go with it if that's something you would like to do. It was fine with him. But yes, and then I would come home, work in the evenings, whenever I could, weekends, and just start building. I pretty much just did it all by myself. Just, my wife helped, and every now and then I would get a friend, but I could never schedule anything, so it was hard for me to get people over to help. So I was just like, I've got a few hours, let me go out there and do some stuff. But kind of that leads to your question. So I geared myself up to not just stop, have to build a shop, have to buy the tools. Because even before that, in Florida, I did a 4-year apprenticeship, but I also had my own shop. So I've always had my own thing going. And I had all my tools. Like back then, there was a period I wasn't allowed to work as far as the U.S. government because of the immigration stuff. So I had to think about a year I was not allowed to work. And a church reached out to me and was like, hey, we want you to do some work. And it's through like word of mouth or something. And I told them I can't get paid. I can't work. And I can't do this. You know, I don't have all the equipment. And they basically brought me a lot of my equipment. They I guess they had like a lawyer or someone on their diocese or whatever it was. But they were like, well, we can't gift you stuff.
Loophole.
So, you know, with that, yeah. I was like, I need a bandsaw. I need a Festool. There was a bunch of stuff. And they got it. And it was a ton of work. And so even with that helped get word of mouth. And then I came back, to Texas, started doing the shop, little jobs here and there whilst I was working. And so, word of mouth definitely helped. And then it was my in-laws who had brought several pieces from Michael. And they wanted a china cabinet, basically for their wine stuff. So it's like a buffet and then a little top piece on it. I designed it, and I kind of asked them. I said, "Is this something you want Michael to do, or is it that you want Michael to do it because I would be doing it too?" And they were like, "Well, yeah, that's obviously why." And so I said, "I'm thinking about starting my own business, and I could use because it's like about I think around 40,000." So I said I could use 20 of that to put into the shop and get it finished and get electrical, and then that would be my first commission. And they basically said if you're going to do that, you need to do it now because I may not have that money and it's not a necessity, but if it will help you get going, then sure. And so I'm very thankful that that's the only piece they've ever brought for me. But I'm very thankful that they bought. And I was like, cool, they're going to be buying shit for me. It's like, nope. That was it. But yeah, I mean, like how fortunate was that to be able to jump into a piece like that. And I don't know if I've ever built a better piece than that since I've been doing this.
Stakes were high.
I was into that. Yeah, I was into that piece. I mean, it was insane. And what's sad about it is he made the mistake, my father-in-law. He said, if you get busy, just put it to the side. Well, Instagram, a friend of mine was like, you need to get on Instagram. I was like, what the hell is that? And she takes my phone and she makes me an account. I mean, I'm telling you, this is what I mean by luck. Because I am so not a technological person at all. And she's like, you need to just post pictures of your work. And so I would do that. And then I don't know what happened. Several people, I had some famous person reach out and they wanted a piece. And then it just started going a little bit crazy. And so I put that buffet to the side. It took me 2 years later to finish it. And my father-in-law would dig me every time I saw him. He goes, how's that buffet going? I said, well, I'm still busy. and he did not care. But what's even more sad about that is he never got the top piece to it. There was a whole top piece, and it's all roughed out in my racks, and it's been 10 years or whatever, more than that. And he just told me, he's like, I don't actually need that top piece because I'm down. I think he just took pity on me because I was like, thank God, because you're never going to get it. And if you did, this is how bad it was. The buffet sides, because I pre-finish everything before it goes together, were done a year before, other components. And so when they got finished and put together, they had oxidized so much. It was cherry. That it took a whole year for it to get just kind of caught up and balanced. But yeah, it's pretty sad. But then I just got busy. I mean, Fine Woodworking reached out and they asked for some, to work with, and it just kind of. Instagram back then was wonderful. I had years and years of work just from Instagram, but not anymore.
No, you see it more as a thing just to interact with other makers, do you? Rather than actually sell products?
Yeah, I do. I mean, right now, I think like all of us, we have this like love-hate relationship, but I have an addictive attitude. So I've been sober for 6 years now, I guess, if not longer. And same with Instagram. I would spend so much time just wasting time on it, and it would mess with my mental health. And so recently, what I've been doing, I actually put it on today so I could make sure I wasn't missing something with this podcast, but I delete it off my phone during the week, and then I put it back on my phone on the weekend.
I've heard of people
so I
doing
still
this.
love.
It's a real hurdle.
Yeah.
So how badly do you want it to go through all those steps?
Yeah, and that's the thing, and I just know myself, because my wife's like, well, why don't you just don't go on it? I'm like, man. Also, I go to the restroom, and I'm like an hour later coming out of the restroom, and now without it, I'm like 5 minutes. It's ridiculous. It sucks you in, and some people can handle it and do it well. I have definitely struggled with it, but I'm so appreciative of it. Nobody would know who I am if it weren't for that, because I never reached out to magazines or to do articles. Like, they just kind of stumbled upon me. And so it's been fantastic for that. So for teaching, for clients, and I still pick up some work every now and then, but then, with makers and stuff too. So it's still a good tool. But it's changed, and unless you're playing the game and you're putting out bullshit content, you just forget it. Yeah.
Yep.
You're going to get buried.
Yeah, I've definitely eased off on it. I go through phases, and I'm definitely in an ease-off phase at the minute. I don't know whether it's because I was saying on the podcast the other week that I'm doing less bespoke work this year, which is great, and it's kind of where I wanted my business to go, that I'm producing pieces from my back catalogue. So
that's awesome.
I know the controlled costs in it, I know the profit margin, all that kind of stuff, but I feel that people maybe don't want to see it as much because they've already seen it before, despite the fact that it might have been 2-3 years since I've made that piece.
Sure.
I don't feel so inclined to post like, this is how this goes together, but
I get that.
But I love your Instagram stories. I love the talking to camera thing. I love the showing of mistakes and how you fix them, all that kind of stuff. Like, that's the kind of content that I engage with.
Yeah, I like the stories. I hit up the stories pretty good. It's just something about the fact that it disappears. I don't mind making an ass out of myself, but
I think
it's just that
Adam Markowitz said the same thing about stories. That's what he loved about it, was the lack of accountability. You can say what you want, so then it's gone.
Yeah, and that's it. And it's how I used to be on Instagram. Like, just regular, like, not stories. Like, back in the day, I didn't overthink anything. I just shared crap. And then it just became this thing of, like, overthinking everything. And then I'll go on someone else's page, and I'm like, I want my page to look like their page. It's nothing but beautiful photographs and this, that, yeah. I'm like, that's not who I am. I can't be that. Even if I wanted to be that, that's not who I am. But we all kind of do that, I think. I always tell people woodworkers are, like, the most insecure people ever. And I don't know if you two fall in that or not, but every woodworker I've met, and even people I've like looked up to in magazines and from when I was 15, and I'm getting to meet these people and being a part of some of the same organizations as them, and they're all insecure. It's amazing, and we're all still figuring. Like, unfortunately, it seems like that doesn't go away. Like, you think like, oh, you're going to hit this certain point, and then it's just like, you got to figure it out. And I'll speak to these people that have been doing for 40, 50 years, and they're like, I don't know where my next commission's coming from.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, okay.
Don't tell me
cool.
that. That's not what I want my future to be.
I think it comes down to the fact that furniture is sort of accessible and it's small. Therefore, we're always striving for perfection in it. And in every piece, there are flaws. Every piece. And it's only going to be you or me that know about them. But they're there, and that eats at your soul. But you just have to get to a point where you accept it, that it can't be perfect.
Yeah. And it's funny because I know a lot of people be like, you're doing it for yourself, not for the client. But my thing is like, yeah, of course, or else I'll just go work for someone. Like, what is the point? I mean, we're only on this earth for so long, right? And I'm like, I want to do the best work I could possibly do. And it's not always going to be easy. And there's times I don't want to go to the shop. But I'm always proud of the work I do. And if I didn't push myself and went that little bit extra, I probably would have just stayed at a certain level as a craftsperson and as a designer. And so for me, it's like, well, yeah, I'm not doing it for the client. Like these desks I'm doing now, it's so ridiculous. But she just wanted some nice desks. I could have just done straight legs. I could have done curved tapers on them. Instead, I'm doing rake and splay and angle. Everything's like curved. The aprons are all hang curved back and the drawers curved and angled dovetails, and it's just ridiculous. But I don't expect that client to be like, this piece is amazing because of this, this, and this. She won't know, but she will say, this is really a beautiful piece and it makes me feel good. And I have become a better craftsperson, and I charge more and more as I go. And so, yeah, it's funny because I always tell my wife, if this doesn't work, and I think of it as just a big bucket, I do articles, I sell some plans, I teach, I do commissions. If that bucket at the end of the year isn't working out as far as the finances go, then I'll go work for someone, and that'd be great. A lot of stress off me, but I'm not going to go take on shit work that I can't be proud of or happy about just to pay the bills. Like, of course, that sounds kind of spoiled. Like, I'll do whatever I need to do, but my point is I could go work for someone and probably still be pretty proud of the work I do instead of me just doing stuff I don't want to. But,
we have this conversation with so many people, and I've always been so reluctant to take on the shit work that literally keep the lights on work. Right. I've always said to people, if you need a side hustle that is totally unrelated to furniture, do that rather than do the shit work.
Yeah.
Because the shit work attracts shit work. And then once you get into the habit of accepting
it's hard to get out. And
really hard to get out of that cycle.
You live a certain lifestyle, you're making X amount of money, you got to keep it going, and it's just kind of one of those things. So I'm making more money every year and doing better than I've ever done working for anyone else. But I get it. Like, the thing, I kind of joke, it makes my wife mad, but I'm always like, I have to make this work. I have nothing. I don't even have a diploma. I have no degrees, no diplomas. Like, I'm dyslexic as hell. This is the only thing I know, which in a way is nice because I mean, there'd be time if I had a degree in, I don't know, whatever, banking, finances or something, and I knew I could go back to that and make, $400,000-$500,000 a year, I probably would have quit several years back, but I didn't have that. And I do know people that have come into it from other professions and they've lasted a few years and then they've gone back because you got to get to that point where you can make it work. But yeah, it's tough, but I wouldn't change it. Get more money.
I think it's also maybe an age thing as well, because I don't know if you guys feel the same, but the older I've gotten, the less and less I've started chasing money. So I chase lifestyle now, not money.
Yeah.
So I'm in that situation that you just talked about, Phil, where I work, my day job is working for an IT company. I do woodworking on the side, and I want to move towards doing woodworking full time. But I'm so keenly aware of exactly what you've said, that when the times when it gets hard, am I just going to run back to what would be cushier work, easier work, better pay, less hours? But that's where I say when you get your head around I'm not chasing money anymore. I want more time to be with my kids, or to show my kids that dad's his own boss and he makes his own decisions. Those sorts of influences. Then I think you're ready to make the step.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're smart doing it in that way where it's like you're slowly getting into it, because now you can work up your clientele and the word of mouth and get those pieces out there, and it takes time. Like, I've had students come and take a 3-month program with me, and their background is in finances or whatever, and they hate what they do, but they just want to quit and start building furniture. And, ask me, like, so do you think you can make about $400,000 a year building furniture? I'm like, no.
So you got to make this $150,000 investment into your piece, into getting your workshop set up, and then it's going to take you about 3 to 4 years before you've even paid that off, paying yourself absolutely nothing. So that's your starting point, guys.
Man, I'm like, take it slow, work into it. If you don't absolutely hate your job, keep at it. And then, so I mean, that makes sense. And I think, like you said too, like, I don't know, like, the more you make, the more you spend, right? Like, it just seems to be that way. So I know there's like this magic number where happiness is tied to, and it's, and the way sounds really simple, but little things I take for granted, right? Like, I'll go to the gas station, and this only kind of clicked with me, a few months back. And I'll see people going in and saying $10 on pump 1. And those are the people that are just barely getting by and working their asses off in barely minimum wage jobs, just barely getting by. And I don't even hesitate at the pump. I fill it up. If my AC goes out, I don't hesitate to call someone, my car, whatever it is, right? So, like, I'm not going without those important necessities to be able to feel comfortable in that way. But what is, like you just said, what's more important is, and I think this is our age thing. I can't remember what it was. It was a podcast I was listening to, but they called it the new rich. And, like my wife's parents, like, their generation was, you get the job that pays really well, and you get the big ass house, you get the nice cars that you're just barely able to pay for and stuff. So you're working your ass off until you're like 75. And then you're going to go live and travel and do the stuff you really want to do. You're 75. Like, who wants to do that at 75? And so I think the new rich to me is experiences. And, getting to travel and getting to be around my family more. Those things are incredibly important to me. And, I'm saying all this, and at the same time, like, God, I hope I have enough work to pay the bills. So... but even too, like, you think of other people with these jobs, you're like, I would love to have more of a secure job. It's kind of what I was going to say. But during COVID, I was still working. It didn't affect me at all. And I know so many people that got laid off who thought they had secure jobs. So I guess it just isn't any such thing as that. So, yeah.
I suppose the teaching definitely is, like, it's way more stable than the idea of chasing commission work. Like, I kind of like doing a bit of teaching on the side and sort of knowing that is coming in every week.
Yeah. No, it is nice. I wonder, it's been tough, because if I just stayed in my shop working on my commission work, I probably would have made more money than doing the teaching. The teaching, it pays okay, but when you factor in all the time ahead and afterwards, and it can be a lot. But it has brought so much more to me than just the teaching itself. Like, I've gotten patrons from it. My family has traveled with me teaching. I'm so much more like a better craftsperson because of teaching. And so I've gotten to meet some of these people I've looked up. I'll look over and Michael Fortune's teaching next to me. And I'm like, I need to pinch myself. I'm like, this is crazy. Like, this punk kid from London is now in America teaching with these people that I've looked up to and read their articles, not even read it, just looked at it, and like looked at the diagrams and all that stuff and learned from. And so, but it is like, I can't imagine me trying to make the transition I'm trying to do now if I didn't have the teaching.
Yep.
And that's amazing.
Talking about the transitions of your business, you've always had interns working for you right from the start, or you started to...
Not always. I've actually only ever had one.
That's That's Amanda, right?
Yeah, Amanda full-time. But you're probably seeing I work with a program called Project Art, and they pair me with high school students. And so I have high school students come out, and we design and build a project together over however long it takes.
Very
so
good.
Yeah.
So Amanda was your main intern for like 4 or 5 years, and then flew the nest?
Several years.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I couldn't continue hiring anymore. Just, that's the reality of it. And with her, what the agreement was, she was a student of mine, and then I had her come out part-time. I said, did you want to come out, help me out for these few jobs? And I said, hey, I think I could hire you full-time, but here's the deal. I have no idea. Like, it might be 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years. I have no freaking idea. So if you're wanting something secure, this is not it. But she took it as an opportunity to learn from me, and she helped me out a lot. Back then, I was doing more products also, which I don't really show a lot of, but I did these record consoles, and it was like I farmed out a lot of it. So I had a company veneer up the plywood, and then a company CNC'd it, and then Amanda and I would do the rest of the work to it. And so I had products that kept her busy, could pay her, it worked out well. And then I tried I'm really terrible at selling stuff, like product. I suck at it. But I made some like cool coffee table and some other stuff, and I was like, I've designed it, you make it, I'll kind of help you through some of it, jigging and this, that, the other, keep her busy. But then they're just like hanging in the shop. I haven't even tried to sell any of them. So it's tough when you don't have product. And, that's kind of what it was. And then she had a fantastic opportunity to go work for freaking Fine Woodworker magazine. And I was like, you need to get after it. Like a salary, a freaking insurance, getting out of Texas. I was like, win, win, win. Yeah, so that's what she's doing, and she's getting to do her own thing too. So it's pretty awesome to see.
Very good. And so you're saying you don't really do much product anymore. So would you consider all your work to be bespoke now, or you're still making pieces that you've made before?
So I would say 75% is bespoke, and like you just said, you're getting out of that, and I totally get it. It sucks. I mean, I love it because it is what pushes me, and I do the craziest shit, but it's just, it kills you. You spend 3-4 months on a piece, and you're like, oh my god, what am I doing? But I have my lounge chairs, my rocking chairs, my other chairs. Obviously chairs, that's the only thing I do over again, but it's not even like I have that advertised really anywhere, or I'm trying to push it as a product. So when I say products, that's kind of what I mean. I don't have a line of furniture. But
it's something like people know the chairs exist, and they might see it on Instagram, and then 2 to 3 years down the line, they might have the money together and contact me.
And I just shipped out 6 of my lounge chairs, and so that does happen. And I'll get an order for. I've done a dining chair and a bar stool, and I've done those like 2 or 3 times. I hate doing chairs.
You hate doing chairs? I thought you loved doing chairs.
No, I love making the jigs. I love designing, prototyping, making the jigs, and then I want to hand it the heck off. If I could trust someone, to do it to the level I wanted. But chairs are. There's nothing fun about chairs. It's just like doing the same thing over and over again. It's like pain. And those particular dining chairs, I don't know like terminology of stuff, but I don't know if they call them stick chairs. But it's like that Scandinavian deal where you've got the round tapered leg, and then you've got the freaking rail with the housed tenon, and the entire rail is housed in the leg. And there's no forgiveness at all, like none. So if you have someone that's a little heavy with a hand plane, it's a gap. And so it's just the worst type of chair. If you want to do chairs, the only chair that makes any sense is like a what do you call it? Like rung and stick, or I'm really bad with names of stuff. Like a Windsor type chair.
A Burn Chandley chair.
Burn Chandley,
yeah. Which is Burn Chandley's freaking amazing, and he's the one. I don't know the name of it, but he's got this one particular chair. It is unbelievable. To me, it's like one of the best chairs out there. It's just beautiful. Like he put a modern twist on that style chair, but those are because it's like it's just designed to be more of a production once you've got the systems in place, and it's not really designed to be perfect. It's designed to move with your body. It's you're not trying to fit a few thousandths of an inch. It's you leave the facets on it and stuff, and it's beautiful. So yeah, I mean that's the way you do chairs for sure, and it still probably sucks.
Byrne is a superstar in the community. It's so cool that he sort of to see all the Americans really start to appreciate his work, and he's such a modest guy as well. Like it's really cool.
He's
getting all the
most humble dude ever. Yeah. Like I've spoke to him with FaceTime and stuff through Instagram, and I haven't spoke to him in a little while, but he helped me out a lot with steam bending. He gave me a lot of advice and stuff because those dining chairs I did had steam bent back legs, and it was a big steam bend, and I made it work. But he was just so forthcoming with giving information and just super humble. But yeah, amazing guy. Hopefully I get to meet him one day.
Yeah, we're gonna get you down to Melbourne.
Yeah, it's funny. Everyone most of the guests that we talk to know of him, and it was weird when we were down in Melbourne for the Wood Dust event. Matt Esley, who's from I think he's Guildford, over in England. He got to meet Byrne pretty much exactly the scenario that you're talking about to hopefully do one day. And it was such this amazing moment to see Matt Esley, this incredible woodworker, just get butterflies, and you can see his hand shaking because he's so excited to meet this. And Byrne was just like that cool grandpa who just shook his head and said,
"Hey, grandpa, careful! I don't think Byrne's a grandpa."
That's pretty funny.
I'm saying it in warmth.
Is that warm, grandpa?
Yeah,
that's awesome. Well, that's what I mean. Like, so Tim Coleman is someone that I just absolutely admire. And then I got to go hang out and meet him, and it was the same deal. I think he was as nervous meeting me as I was meeting him, which was ridiculous. But he was just the most just wonderful, kind person. And then he, I think that's how it works. He nominated me for the New Hampshire Furniture Masters, and to be visiting artist, I guess, for the year. And it's just through this one visit I had with him, and it was just like. You would think people in this kind of industry, because there's not that many of us that do high end work. It probably seems like there's a ton, but there really isn't that many of us. And you'd think we'd be like a little more like standoffish, like, oh, you stepping on my territory. It's like, no, like you just like give out the information. And that's what I love.
I think it is the nature of the craft, like the fact that there was always that internship model going back hundreds of years that you had to learn from someone, and then it's expected that you pass on the knowledge. So I think that whole IP thing it doesn't really exist in woodwork. Maybe some people out there, but for me, I've always found the same thing. I've been like, especially when I first started and began to approach people and ask them questions on Instagram, I always found they responded. Like so long as you're asking them a useful question. And not just like wasting their time. Everybody responded. They were always polite and interested in what you're doing. And I try to be the same. And it's hard because it takes time. But
for sure. Yeah,
but it does tend to be for the most part. It is a dickhead-free zone. Like people are very willing to share ideas.
Yeah, I've only ever met one guy. I'm not going to mention names, but was a total asshole. And he was super well known, pretty famous. But he had this one product, and it's bloody ugly anyway. But I I kind of knew about him before he got really known, and I remember thinking, am I being a little too hard on him because of the way he reacted with something? Anyway, and about a year later, the whole internet was like, screw this guy. It was just the weirdest thing.
Save that conversation for the Patreon premium chat that we don't have.
Yeah, right. But he might be a wonderful person in person, but just the whole, I'm the inventor of this, I'm the first, I don't get that. It's all been done before. Everything. If it's so original, it's probably ugly. I mean, honestly, we build upon stuff from the past. I mean, that's what it is. But yeah,
I think that's going to be the tagline for this episode. If it's so original, it must be ugly. Like that. All right. Speaking of that, we're going to have to bring this to a close because it is coming up on time. Phil, thanks again for coming on the show, mate. It feels like this is a conversation that we could continue for the next couple of hours.
I know. I'm shocked it's already gone by. I'm like, dang, I'm just getting started. No, I can ramble, so you got to watch out.
It's so cool.
I appreciate you having me on.
So much information there for people who are starting their own business, and that's what we try to provide. Like, we try to show the whole process of where people have come from, where they've ended up, and your story's brilliant. So interesting.
Yeah, no, that's what I like about your podcast. It's probably about the only one I listen to, honestly.
Thank you. Really appreciate that.
That and fine woodworking. That's about it.
Cool. All right. Well, take care. All the best. Good luck with the potential move. And
thank you.
Yeah, we'll be watching you on
Instagram. Appreciate it. All right. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
Bye.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Bye.